Here we go. What is going on, Cover One crew? Happy Friday to everybody. Doing this show one day early because we got contests on Saturday. We got 3 of them. It's a glorious weekend of football as we enter the holiday season, the Christmas season. I love it. I can't wait. What are we doing today? It is Start Sit week number 15. Round 1 of the fantasy football playoffs got kicked off last night. Thursday night football between the Seahawks and those 49ers. Good contest. Got you started hopefully on the right note if you had players like George Kittle and company, but nevertheless, we got a lot of teams to cover, so let's dive in, waste no time. Start Sit week number 15. So the issue at hand continues to be injuries and bad matchups, especially for those of us that have Lamar Jackson on our roster. We're trying to find the applicable replacement at the quarterback position. Hopefully I got you covered because you know what? I got some shares of Lamar Jackson, so I'm scrambling to find that, new addition to help me across the way. So anyway, let's go to those Arizona Cardinals. Bad news for the Birds. They lost, Kyler Murray to an ACL injury on that last contest. Cut wrong, and now Colt McCoy is the starting quarterback for the remainder of the season unless he gets injured. They're going up against the Denver Broncos. Still stout pass secondary, so I'm giving Colt McCoy a high-risk play. He is definitely not a streaming quarterback for me this week. James Conner, on the other hand, I'm going to give him mid-level risk, even though the Denver Broncos are good versus, basically everything defensively. They're pretty good still. So, James Conner gets a mid-level risk for me. You can still start him this week. I do believe the volume will be there. Potential check down upside for a James Conner. DeAndre Hopkins gets a low-risk play. Doesn't matter who DeAndre's quarterback is. He's still going to put up decent to good numbers for you. You got to say anywhere from 10 to 15 points is coming DeAndre Hopkins' way, straight up on volume upside. Marquise Hollywood, mid-level risk. He didn't really perform. It's going to be tough for Colt McCoy to find all his wide receivers with high abundance, but I think Marquise, I would definitely start as well this week. There is always touchdown upside potential. You got to think Patrick Surtain is going to see a lot of DeAndre Hopkins, or vice versa, the other way you want to put it. Hopkins going to see a lot of Surtain, but Hollywood could break free and score you a touchdown this week. High-risk plays for Dortch and McBride. I don't like it this week. It's too much, man. The playoffs, you got to, start your studs. You got to start the players that are going to give you the high-end point productivity. You can't trust either one of those individuals, as is Rondale Moore. He is out for the season on the IR. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints. Desmond Ridder time. And I don't think I've ever done this in all of my time, covering fantasy football. I got high-level risks on everybody in this Falcons offense because it's way too hard to trust. Legit, man, everybody on this offense right now is a high-level risk to me. Ridder, Patterson, Algier, Drake London, Zacchaeus, and McCole Pruitt, they are all high risks. I am not touching any of it. We don't know what Desmond Ridder is going to look like. We don't know if he's going to be able to support this offense. We don't know if they're going to run the ball. They haven't been running the ball with Marcus Mariota behind center. Cordell Patterson has basically gone away fantasy football-wise. You cannot trust any of these players this week in the fantasy playoffs. So, I got to, say if you're probably in the fantasy playoffs with any of these players on Atlanta, you got to horseshoe up your you-know-what because you made it in. But I'm not trusting anybody in this contest from the Atlanta Falcons until we see Ridder throw that ball. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cleveland Browns on Saturday, one of the games on Saturday. Tyler Huntley will get another start. He is, I believe he's been cleared already. I'm doing this show before the injuries do come out on Friday afternoon, so we will see. I will put him in the chat, I should say, for any updates for injuries for all these players. But Lamar Jackson has already been ruled out. Tyler Huntley will be playing in this contest. Mid-level risk for him. He was doing okay, wasn't great, and then he went out with the concussion, basically foiled everybody's plans last week. Very hard to trust once again is a Tyler Huntley this week. So unless you're really, scraping the bottom of the barrel for a replacement quarterback, then okay, you start up a Tyler Huntley, but I'm not doing it this week. You fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not doing it. J.K. Dobbins, he does get a mid-level risk, even though he looked very good, yards-wise, statistic-wise. The running style just did not look good. Did you see the pictures of his knee? He's got those big pins in his knee. Don't like it, but I will be firing up a J.K. Dobbins this week. You got to trust it, man. You held him on the bench right now. He proved, even on the bum knee, that he's able to, at least carry the load And against the Cleveland Browns defense that has seen better days, they are susceptible to giving up big plays. So I think JK's going to, again, see the volume. Nothing on the injury report suggests that he's not suiting up in this contest. JK is a fire-up for me. Gus Edwards, mid-level risk. The volume is no longer there. It's going to be JK's backfield. You can sit a Gus Edwards this week, as you can with Devin Duvernay. High-level risk. I'm not touching that. I haven't touched it for weeks because it's just gross and you're not doing it. Demarcus Robinson does get the mid-level risk because the PPR upside is there. He sees lesser coverage than a Duvernay. Duvernay's taking all the DB1s. He just can't... Excuse me. He just can't break free right now. Duvernay can't. So DeMarcus Robinson for PPR upside flex play is an option, but I would be looking in other directions. Mark Andrews, mid-level risk. First time this year, he's been under my low-risk plateau. It's bad. I mean, what can you say? You drafted a Mark Andrews in hopes to be a top 3 tight end, which he probably is going to still finish off as anyway. But, I mean, he's just been killing you the last several weeks, and it has, come to the point of the lack of upside and passing attack for these Baltimore Ravens. If you got Mark Andrews, you're likely starting him because talent will trump everything always. But, I mean, temper the expectations. He could give you another bad game again and cripple your fantasy day. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins. It is Squish the Fish week for us Buffalo Bills fans, taking them on Saturday. Weather, man. Weather is the concern right now. You're seeing anywhere from 6 to 14, 15 inches of snow, blowing snow, wind conditions. Not suitable for high-end fantasy productivity. Josh Allen still gets a low-level risk play for me because he'll likely take off with his legs and find the end zone again on the ground. So Josh Allen, obviously you're playing him, but low-level risk. You just missed the stud start. If it was better weather, he would have got a stud start in this revenge game to beat up the Fish, man. Devin Singletary gets a mid-level risk. James Cook, high-level risk. They're going to have to utilize the ground game a lot in this contest. I want to believe, even though that Miami Dolphins defense still blitzes a lot, and they do stifle the run quite a bit. I mean, Devin Singletary, I would probably trust just a little bit more. It's still, the floor is going to be very low for these guys depending on how bad this weather conditions are going to be. James Cook, I am not playing this week because it's just too important of a week to throw in a, high-end potential play of a James Cook. Stephon Diggs, mid-level risk. Gabe Davis, mid-level risk. Only due to weather. Otherwise, it would be higher. You're starting Stephon Diggs. I don't fault you for sitting a Gabe Davis in this contest just because of the weather aside. You may get some touchdowns depending. So watch the forecast. So if the forecast does change and it's not snowing and not as windy, then you uplift a Stephon Diggs to a low level. You keep Gabe at a mid-level. Hopefully he finds the end zone. Then I would play a Gabe Davis in that contest if the snow does taper off. Isaiah McKenzie, high-level risk. Dawson Knox, we got TD-dependent upside. You showed it again, man. He dove over the line, spun in the air, and found the end zone. That's kind of what you're getting from Dawson Knox this year. It's just the way the offense is running under Ken Dorsey this season, man. The Carolina Panthers taking on those Pittsburgh Steelers. Panthers still in this thing, man. They could win the division still because how piss poor the NFC South has been all season long. Sam Darnold is back, and he is like a phoenix rising from the sun. I mean, okay, I'm not going to go that far, but he's been playing decent enough to move this offense. I think Sam Darnold will give you anywhere from 11 to about 14 points. Very, very difficult to trust, even against a Pittsburgh defense that does, give up a lot of yards. In the pass game, they are a bend but don't break unit for the red zone for the most part in Pittsburgh, so I don't like the start of Sam Darnold as a streamer this week. We do got a problem with the running back room, though, because now the touches are being spread between both Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. We got goal line upside for a Foreman, and I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping and banking on each and every week with a Foreman now. Chuba Hubbard, they have been giving him a lot more carries. I think he had 14 and 17 respectively in the past 2 weeks, so Chuba you can probably fire up as well this week. He does get volume upside with explosive play ability. I don't hate starting either one of these gentlemen because the running back situation probably for your team is going to be very tough anyway. So, I mean, both these guys do possess some level of upside versus Steelers defense that is gashable at times. DJ Moore does get a low-level risk. Even though he's dealing with an injury, he's the only wide receiver that Darnold trusts. So the PPR upside is definitely going in his direction. I think you could fire up a DJ Moore this week with some level of confidence. Terrace Marshall, mid-level risk. You're not starting that, nor are you with Tommy Tremble. You cannot trust the other receiving options on this team at this point as we are in round one. Chicago Bears taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm going to say right now, rest in peace, Chicago Bears, because those Eagles, man, fly, Eagles, fly. They are just dominating the competition right now. They figured everything out. They're humming along like a well-oiled machine. Justin Fields gets a low-level risk, though, even, with that said, because Garbage time productivity is definitely going to be there. Justin Fields is going to take off and run anytime he sees backs of defensive backs, playing man coverage. So Fields is at least going to get you 15 to 20 points this week against a stout and stellar Philadelphia Eagles defense. Be wary of turnovers, though. I would not be surprised if a couple picks or a fumble does transpire for a Justin Fields. David Montgomery is questionable with an illness. He still should suit up in this contest. I'll give him mid-level risk. I don't like the start, but I understand the start if you have to do it. I mean, this Eagles defense is so good. They front seven is just stellar. They got people like Nakobe Dean that basically haven't even played much snaps this year, and they're fresh, and they're starting to utilize Nakobe Dean just a little bit as they, get him some playing time as they enter the playoffs. Going to be very tough sledding for a David Montgomery. Hopefully PPR upside will be there for him as well. St. Brown, Pittis, and Claypool, all high-level risks. Not touching it for the round one of the fantasy playoffs. You cannot do it. You cannot trust it. It's so, volatile. You never know which one's going to catch the ball as the Chicago Bears continue to, groom Justin Fields and try to help this offense out. You can't do it. Cole Kmet, on the other hand, mid-level risk. I think there is opportunity for him being the safest receiving option on this team, but yet again, he could have put up a goose egg stinker for you as well. Chase Claypool is also questionable with a knee injury. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was supposed to be a great contest, but Tampa Bay just does not look the same anymore. Tommy Touchdown and company, they do not look good. But the caveat is we got Cincinnati with a lot of injuries, man. Tyler Boyd, questionable finger on the wrong side of playing this week. T. Higgins, questionable hamstring. He was a late addition. He tweaked it in the pregame warmups last week. Probably killed all y'all that had him. Hayden Hurst is doubtful with the calf, which sucks because I thought with these two wide receivers, Hayden Hurst would have a very good day PPR-wise. However, we got Joe Burrow, low-level risk. He's still going to move the ball. Why? Because he's got Jamar Chase, baby. And low-level risks for a Jamar Chase. You got to love that too, man. So it's going to be Pepper Show to a Jamar Chase from a Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon gets a mid-level risk. You fire him up this week. Sam J. P. Ryan only gets the goal line upside once again. So this is how this offense is going to morph and move. Sam J will get the touches to spell a Joe Mixon, and he will get the goal line upside for sure. But Joe Mixon, especially if T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd do not suit up in this contest, Joe Mixon would move from a mid-level to a low-level risk for me because they will have to utilize him a lot more in the pass game to support a Jamar Chase. Also, Mitchell Wilcox, not the guy you want to play at tight end, but they do got that Irwin kid, so if you're really struggling, Higgins and Boyd are both out. Irwin looks like a decent play, man. You could get a 10 to 12 spot from an Irwin, the wide receiver from the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cleveland Browns taking on those Baltimore Ravens on Saturday. Like I mentioned, Deshaun Watson did look better this past week. He's getting his footing back. You know what? We knew the rust was going to be there after not playing football for like 700 days. You got to understand what's going on. Deshaun Watson gets a good matchup here versus secondary that does, hemorrhage points at times, but we will see how they will perform in this contest. The trading of Roquan Smith to this defense was a stroke of genius. Now, what I told a bunch of people, man, I said, Patrick Queen, everyone in Baltimore was saying, Patrick Queen sucks. He doesn't suck. It's because they were asking him to do too much. Now you got a Roquan Smith who's taken the captain role on that defense, and now Patrick Queen can run around. He got an interception last week, so you're going to see this defense does look good. Nick Chubb, this is such a tough one. I was going to say I'm not starting Deshaun Watson this week, by the way. I will not do that. You got to find other options, unless you have no other option, but you got to find other options. I don't like the play this week for Watson. Nick Chubb, on the other hand, I'm forced grudgingly to give him a low-level risk because talent is there. But, the last several weeks, Nick Chubb has absolutely killed your fantasy team. The point productivity has not been there. Kevin Stefanski has just gone away from his MO of running the ball, setting up the play-action pass. I don't know what is going on in his playbook right now, but you got to go back to basics, Kevin. Come on, man. But Nick Chubb, low-level risk. He's due for a big breakout performance, and the Ravens will be in tough to stop his services. Kareem Hunt, high-level risks. Place that man on the bench. He hasn't done anything since like week 5. I apologize to all those that I said, start for PPR upside the past couple weeks, man. You just can't trust Kareem Hunt. Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, DPJ, they both get a low-level risk for me. I think Deshaun Watson will be able to at least feed these gentlemen on the regular versus secondary that does give up a lot of points to wide receivers. David Njoku gets a mid-level risk. He always possesses some level of boom or bust, but I think Njoku is a very safe start this week once again. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Thanks a lot, Dallas, for bumming me out for that 17-point spread I took against Houston. Thanks a lot, man. You lost me some money. I'm going to send Jerry Jones a check in a second, or a bill in a second. But Dak Prescott, he gets a low-level risk, as does Zeke, as does Pollard, as does CeeDee Lamb. Even though the Jaguars have been playing much better as the season has wore on, this defense in Jacksonville is not terrible, but they are susceptible as well to giving up a lot of points to the opposition. So Dak Prescott, they will look to rebound this week after their, uneven performance. I mean, Dak, yes, you got to give him the props where it's due. He did bring the team back late, and they won the contest versus the Texans. They overlooked the Texans big time, and that's a teaching point for the head coaching staff to, get them ready in this contest. They need a good game to show that they are a dominant football team. Fire up Dak, Zeke, Tony, and CeeDee Lamb with confidence. Michael Gallup does have a low floor. I'm sitting him this week. I don't like it. They did sign T.Y. Hilton, so we'll see if he gets acclimated enough, quick enough to get some, on-field work. They also do get James Washington back, so we'll see how this wide receiver room does pan out, but Michael Gallup is a sit. Dalton Schultz, mid-level risk only because of volume, but I do believe there is potential. He finds the end zone once again. You fire up a Dalton Schultz. The Denver Broncos taking on these Arizona Cardinals. Russell Wilson dealing with a concussion. That's the problem. I mean, he hasn't been cleared just yet. He's done limited activity on Thursday, so we'll see. Cortland Sutton, questionable with a hamstring. He missed last game. Kendall Hinton, questionable hamstring. He played, I believe. So it's going to be Jerry Jeudy day again. Low-level risk for Jeudy. Only one you're really trusting in this offense at this point. Russell Wilson, the questions have come in for me, suggesting, can I start a Russell Wilson this week after what he showed versus the Kansas City Chiefs? And I mean, based on what we see right now, and I'm probably talking to all Lamar Jackson owners right now who are looking for a quarterback, I was looking to start Mike White. Mike White is not playing anymore. So now the conversation goes to Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson, Ryan Tannehill, those types of guys. It's a risk. Regardless of what you want to say, it's a risk to play a Russell Wilson. It's not good. It's not favorable. He could bust, but you did see encouraging signs. Force feed Jerry Jeudy and hope for the best. And the best was a very glorious stat line of 3 touchdowns to Jerry Jeudy. So Jeudy, again, based on Cortland Sutton's health, even if Sutton comes back, I think that Nathaniel Hackett, the head coach, is going to continue to go down the path of feeding a Jerry Jeudy. Latavius Murray versus the Cardinals. He could have a sneaky good day. I got a mid-level risk for him. Don't hate the play this week. The defense in Arizona is very much suspect, as is Greg Dulcich, mid-level risk. Everyone was crucifying me in the comments based on the fact I said do not start Hunter Henry last week. What did Hunter give you? 9 points? Fine, it's good for tight ends. Everyone thought a touchdown was coming because the Cardinals are so bad at covering the tight end. You got to understand the team system and what they do. Patriots don't utilize their tight ends enough to make it worth your while. In Denver, however, we do get a good upside this week. I only put mid-level risk because Russell Wilson may not play. If Russell Wilson plays, I'm pushing Greg Dulcich up to a low-level risk because he is part of this offense. They utilize him in this offense, and he should have a decent day if Russell Wilson does play. The Detroit Lions taking on these New York Jets. Who knew? Who knew about these Detroit Lions? I told y'all in the offseason. I loved how the Lions built this team, how they're building and continuing to build this team. They got playmakers at every position in this offense. We had every single wide receiver have a boom game last week. We had Amon-Ra, Jameson, DJ Chark, and we had Reynolds all boom last week in the Detroit Lions offense. You kidding me, man? Unbelievable. Mid-level risk, though, because they're going for Jared Goff, because they're going up against a New York Jets defense that is very good, and they will make life very difficult. Detroit has to learn how to win in multiple areas. They look much better at home. Let's see what they look like on the road as they are playing in New York. Mid-level risk for Jared Goff. He should be able to move the ball decently well, but I do have some fears that this could be an underwhelming performance by the Detroit Lions. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, both getting a mid-level risk. I want to see more volume. We could see it this week as the Jets secondary is probably the cream of this team. No Quinn Williams for the Jets, so that's going to open up lanes for the run game as well. You got to think the potential could be for DeAndre Swift to have a low-level risk, but I'm definitely starting up a DeAndre Swift and a Jamal Williams this week. I do believe there is good upside for them to at least get above the 10-point threshold. Amon-Ra St. Brown does get the only low-level risk because he is the primary slot weapon. He's going to see the PPR upside. He should get at least 7 catches this week, especially with Sauce Gardner likely covering up a DJ Chark and a Jameson Williams, whoever, pick your poison. Reed will cover the other one while Amon-Ra does, dance all over the middle of the field. So I do got a low-level risk for Amon-Ra. Jameson is that boomer bust. If you're really looking for upside, there is potential, but it's so volatile. You cannot trust it in the playoffs. DJ Chark, on the other hand, mid-level risk. He's become steady for me. I like him as a flex play even in this contest. I do believe he's going to find his way to get open, and Jared Goff should be able to find him enough to make it worth your while. The Green Bay Packers taking on the LA Rams on Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers, low-level risk for me. They're coming off the bye week. We do got a problem with Aaron Jones still on the injury report with that ankle, questionable to play. He should suit up in this contest from what I'm seeing, but they may limit the volume. Why even force it? Because, 5-8, you're basically out of the playoffs if you're Green Bay right now. So, why force it? This could be a very big problem for everybody. Injury risk designation for Aaron Jones. If he suits up, you got to play him. That's the poison of fantasy football that you got to do. A.J. Dillon, on the other hand, has been looking a lot better the past several weeks. Mid-level risk. If Aaron Jones doesn't see the field, obviously he goes up to a low level. But if Aaron Jones does play, I do believe that the volume will still be pretty much key for A.J. Dillon. He should be pretty safe to start as well. Allen Lazard, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. I got mid-level, low-level, and high-level, respectively, for all these guys in that order. Low-level risk continues for a Christian Watson. Guys just scoring touchdowns, man. Aaron Rodgers seems to have found his chemistry with this youngster, and the speed alone, just get the ball in the hand. This guy will turn it upfield. Start up a Christian Watson. Very much hesitant to start up an Allen Lazard mid-level risk versus the LA Rams. There is potential. I don't like it. I'm sitting Lazard this week. Romeo Doubs, high-level risk. We don't know how bad he's going to be coming off this injury, so we will see. Robert Tonyan, do not play a Robert Tonyan because, he just is not good at football right now. The Houston Texans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Davis Mills. Okay, I see what you're doing, Houston, but now you lost yourself your guy, Dameon Pierce. The run game will likely suffer immensely. He's doubtful. Dameon Pierce, you got to look for other options. Rex Burkhead and Ogawabale Wale. I butcher his name all the time. I'm sorry, sir. That is not okay. But, Davis Mills, high-level risk. But there will be potential in this contest, like the Dallas Cowboy game. There will be potential for high-end garbage upside. Nico Collins, questionable with the foot. Brandon Cooks, questionable with the foot. So I'm putting injury risks on them. Just watch the injury report. If they don't suit up, you can trust a Chris Moore once again as a mid-level PPR upside in this contest because the Chiefs' defense does give up points to fantasy wide receivers and running backs. Rex Burkhead might be your safer choice, but Wale Ogawabale, he may get volume as well. So it's a very much pick your poison. I'm definitely staying away from the running back room, but anybody on this team, if Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins sit, I'm definitely going to fire up at Chris Moore because he's been absolutely lights out the past several weeks. You are not starting a Jordan Akins. The tight end for the Houston Texans is just ugly. The Indianapolis Colts taking on those Minnesota Vikings on Saturday. Full slate on Saturday, like I mentioned. Matt Ryan, mid-level risk. He should be able to at least throw the ball around. I believe they're coming off the bye week as well. Low-level risk for a Jonathan Taylor and a Michael Pittman. Fire them up with good levels of confidence as this Minnesota defense has been gashed quite a bit the past several weeks. You can definitely trust those two men. Mid-level for both Paris Campbell and an Alec Pierce. You got to feel like it's Paris Campbell week. They're going to try to utilize him a little bit more over the slot, but either way, both these men are very hard to trust in this contest. For round one, I don't like it. Boomer bust for Jelani Woods. Very difficult to trust him as well, but he could get you anywhere from 3 to 15 points if he finds the end zone. So if you're feeling froggy and you want to leap, then you start yourself with Jelani Woods. I just don't recommend it, man. But Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, definitely the safer plays from these Indianapolis Colts. The Jacksonville Jaguars looking a lot better these past several weeks, as is Trevor Lawrence. He's got 9 boom games for you this year. He's been playing very well, especially the past several weeks. He's been playing extremely well. Low-level risk versus these Dallas Cowboys. Yes, I get it. The Dallas Cowboys defense is very good. They blitz, they rush, they do everything very well. Defensive backfield's very opportunistic, though, and you have weapons on this Jacksonville team that can expose them. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, they look good as a tandem. Low-level risk for a Trevor Lawrence, and a Christian Kirk. Low-level risk for both these men. Zay Jones does have a good floor PPR upside once again. Told you how to play him last week. He blew up. He did very well, as did Evan Ingram. Mid-level risk again this week for me. He's part of the offense, man. They figured it out in Jacksonville. Utilize your players that are good at football, and Evan Ingram finally looks to have figured out his dropping problem. You can definitely trust in Evan Ingram this week as well. As for Travis Etienne, I waited and I paused because Travis Etienne is a problem. He's a big problem for our fantasy team right now. He hasn't done anything since that foot injury. And I mean, is he more hurt than what they're letting on? It's very, very possible. I got a high-level risk on a Travis Etienne versus the Cowboys. I do not like it. I am not trusting it. Hopefully you have better options, because I know I do. He was my third and fourth running back on most of my teams. So for me, this is the week. It sucks. I got to bench him because you can't trust a three-pointer in the fantasy playoffs. Travis Etienne, I'm going to wait for better days, my man. He's my guy. He's my boy. But I gotta sit him, put him placefully on the bench right now, because he's just not doing enough of the business. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Houston Texans. Patrick Mahomes, stud start every single week, 12 boom games. He's going up against these Houston Texans that played the Dallas Cowboys extremely well. It's going to be recency bias for a lot of people thinking they're going to do the same thing to the Chiefs. It's not going to happen. Don't kid yourself. Patrick Mahomes is going to spread the ball all over this field. The caveat here is, though, the Houston Texans, as bad as they have been, 1-11-1 is their record. Their defensive secondary is good, okay? And they are building in the right direction. They got youthful talent there. They're starting to figure things out. That's why you saw the Dallas game go the way it did. The secondary is good in Houston, so definitely keep your eyes on that. But I'm still giving Patrick Mahomes a stud start because he just gets things done every single week. Isaiah Pacheco gets a low-level risk. They're going to be able to move the ball on the ground like everybody does on Houston. That's their worst part of their defense. So as long as they get the run game going, then they will make the defensive backs pinch up a little bit, and you're going to see Patrick Mahomes do the business himself. Jerick McKinnon does, again, have PPR upside. He is a safe play for me once again. He's just in this offense, man. They know how to use him. Andy Reid is very good at utilizing very fast, shifty, pass-catching running backs. Jerick McKinnon is definitely a play this week for me. Juju Smith-Schuster, mid-level risk, only because, like I said, this defensive secondary is that good, but will they be able to corral a Juju? We'll see. But I do believe it's going to be a decent, good day for a Juju, so you can fire him up, but there is potential he could drop a goose egg for you. MVS, high-level risk, not touching that. Travis Kelce drops down from stud start to low risk because the past 3 games have killed us. But you got to believe, man, versus Houston Texans, it's get right time, and Travis Kelce, you're firing him up anyway. Let's just hope we get the 20 points again. 20-point spot is needed from you, Travis. We need you, buddy. The LA Chargers taking on the Tennessee Titans. Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Low-level risks, fire him up. Tennessee can't stop anybody through the air, man. So Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, definitely low-level risks play. They're going to have a very good day through the air. Josh Palmer, mid-level risk for me. I mean, if you're stuck in a pinch, you've been using Palmer as your flex player, your wide receiver 2 or 3. There is potential, but again, you got to temper the expectations. 6 points could be his floor, where he could score a touchdown to inflate that to around 12. So you got to understand there's a lot of weapons, a lot of mouths to feed, but the Tennessee Titans pass defense and their secondary is really a problem, and Justin Herbert should be able to move the ball at home especially. Gerald Everett, mid-level risk as well. I'm definitely firing up everybody on this offense in the Chargers offense right now. I like a lot of it, and they should do a lot of damage versus Tennessee, who is definitely fighting for that playoff spot. Both teams at 7-6 should be a very good show. The LA Rams taking on the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. Baker Mayfield, the big show comes back. I don't know what the hell I witnessed. I mean, you guys are crazy. The NFL got to be rigged sometimes, because Baker Mayfield comes off the plane, 48 hours, puts a jersey on, and wins a football game in comeback fashion. You kidding me? In mid-level risk for a Baker Mayfield. There's no way he's going to be able to do that. You got to understand it's going to be cold in Green Bay. Green Bay's used to that. LA Rams are not mid-level risk for Baker Mayfield. Could be a very difficult day. Cam Akers, Kyron Williams both get high-level risks. I am not touching both these men on round 1 of fantasy football playoffs. Will not do it. Van Jefferson, mid-level risk. Baker's going to throw to somebody, and Van appears to be the number 1 target at this point. I am a Van Jefferson truther as well. He's got a boatload of talent and will be able to make plays. Ben Skoranek, high-level risk. You're not touching that. And Tyler Higbee, mid-level risk. Baker's going to need an outlet at some point, so Tyler Higbee, potential-wise, has the ability to get you 7 points, but I wouldn't expect anything higher than that versus the Green Bay Packers on the frozen tundra. The Las Vegas Raiders taking on the New England Patriots, and the Raiders. Okay. I mean, it is, teacher versus student. Bill Belichick versus Josh McDaniels. New England's going to be ready for this one, but New England does have a lot of injuries on the offensive side. Derek Carr, mid-level risk this week. I don't like it. The pass rush of Judon and company, they're very good. They're going to get after Derek Carr. Josh Jacobs, on the other hand, he does get a low-level risk. He's just been too darn good to sit anyway. He's basically the wide running back 1, 2, or 3 right now. I got to check the numbers, but he's up there top 3 back. You're not sitting that. As is Devontae Adams. It's going to be very difficult difficult to stop for these New England Patriots secondary that is also dealing with injuries. So you could see Derek Carr inflated numbers a little bit more, but I believe that pass rush is going to get to him quite a bit this week. Mac Hollins, mid-level risk, too much boomer bust for me. I don't like it. Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller could potentially suit up in this contest coming off the IR. Good news for all y'all that have been waiting on this. You can't trust it this week until we see it. I'm not starting either one of those. So, I mean, Foster Moreau does get TD upside, but if a Darren Waller does suit up, I would think about starting him because, I mean, coming back, we'll see. It's just been a dreadful season for both Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. So, I mean, I'll just put it on there, start at your own risk if you're looking for some upside. The Miami Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills. Squish the fish. Tua Tagovailoa looked awful last week. Just horrendous. Couldn't find anything on the field, on the open. I mean, take away the mid-level range passes and Tua's going to struggle, and he showed it. Force him to throw to the outside. He just doesn't seem to be able to make those throws. You got to believe the coaching staff is going to alter this game plan, but it could be weather conditions. Once again, high-level risk for Tua. You do not play him this week. Jeff Wilson is an injury risk dealing with a hip issue. He is a questionable tag, so if he does sit, Raheem Mostert will get volume upside. You can likely start at Raheem Mostert if Wilson does sit. I do not hate that whatsoever. Tyreek Hill dealing with that ankle or shin. He's not on the injury report, so that is good news for all Tyreek Hill owners. Low-level risk. It's Tyreek Hill, man. Even in snow, this guy's got wheels for days, and he'll likely find his way into the end zone versus the Bills. Jalen Waddle time. It hasn't been so much as of late. He's got to be dealing with an injury. I don't care what anybody says. He was nicked up early on in the season. I just don't think he's fully healthy. We haven't seen Waddle time in like 4 weeks, and maybe it happens this week, but I highly doubt it because weather's going to definitely kill the top-end potential. Mike Gesicki, I mean, high-level risk. So when it comes to Waddle, I mean, I should go back to that. Do you start Waddle? If you have better options, I would look elsewhere, especially with weather and the way that he has been not playing well. Look in another direction, I should say. It is not a good situation for Jalen Waddle owners at this point. If you have no other option, yes, you fire up Jalen Waddle, but it is very, very difficult to trust at this point. Minnesota Vikings taking on the Indianapolis Colts on Saturday. Kirk Cousins, low-level risk. I mean, losing to the Detroit Lions like you did, he was still feeding the ball to JJ. JJ got over 200 yards last week. It's going to be again. I mean, this offense has at least figured out their pass game between Kirk and JJ. They're doing well enough for you to be trusted. Low level for him and for Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Easy plays. Dalvin Cook, low-level risk. The Indianapolis Colts defense is still very good, but they have opportunity where they do give up big plays. I think Dalvin Cook gives everybody who has been patient with him, he could have a very big day versus the Indianapolis Colts. Adam Thielen does get a mid-level risk. PPR upside is always there with touchdown and red zone appeal, but I think TJ Hawkinson is going to be the X factor in this contest. They're going to have to force feed TJ, and I do believe he finds the end zone this week, so it's good news for Kirk Cousins as his tight end gets back in the mix. The New England Patriots, it's a laundry list of injuries. Damian Harris, questionable thigh. Jacoby Myers, questionable concussion. Ramondre Dre is a questionable with an ankle. Come on, you got to be kidding me. Devontae Parker, questionable with a concussion. This is a big problem. They've been struggling on offense as it is, and I mean, the only real viable option has been a Ramondre. At times, we've seen Jacoby Myers been a PPR guy. Mac Jones, mid-level risk. I'm not playing him. Even though the Raiders' defense is suspect as well, I'm not playing Mac Jones. Ramondre, if he does suit up, you're firing him up, but I got an injury risk on him. Damian Harris, likely not going to play in this one, so you're stuck with Strong and the other Kevin Harris as your running backs. I would pick Strong out of the two if you are doing that. If Ramondre and Harris do sit in this contest, Damian Harris, you're firing up a Strong because I think volume upside will be key because, Bill Belichick's still going to run the ball very well. Jacoby Myers, low-level risk. If he does play, there will be opportunity for him to catch a lot of passes versus the Raiders' defense that isn't very good. Devontae Parker, injury risk. You weren't playing him anyway, so he's just on my board. Nelson Aguilar, Nelly. He could have some upside, man. You could see a touchdown this week, especially if Myers doesn't suit up. He's going to be the only viable weapon. So, again, injury report watching is going to be very important for these Patriots. And if all of these wide receivers sit, then we can play a Hunter Henry because they're going to have to feed the ball to somebody, and Hunter Henry would be the next man up in that occasion. The New Orleans Saints taking on these Atlanta Falcons. Andy Dalton, low-level risk, baby. This offense is not in Atlanta is not going to be able to, keep drives consistent because it's Desmond Ritter. First game, he's going to make mistakes. You got to know that this is going to happen. He's going to have some plays you got to think, but there's going to be too many mistakes. Andy Dalton should get at least 3 or 4 more possessions in this contest, whether it's 3 and out or turnovers. I like the play, low-level risk. Alvin Kamara, I'm going out on a limb this week. It might be a little bit of a hot take because he hasn't played well. I'm giving him a stud start. I think Alvin Kamara has an absolute day this week for you guys. So if you've been patient, you made it in somehow with an Alvin Kamara and his poor performances, this could be the day, the week that it does pan out and pay off. Chris Olave, low-level risk. It's time, man. They're coming off the bye week. They got rested. Chris Olave hasn't found the end zone in quite some time. His games have been up and down the past 3 weeks. This is the week. Get back on track, Chris. CO2, my guy, Chris Olave. He's going to have a big day. Jarvis Landry continues his PPR upside. It's not enough to trust to start this week, so I would definitely look in other directions. As is Juwan Johnson, high risk. He's questionable with an ankle. Taysom Hill, boomer bust every single week. So if you got the kahunas to play yourself a Taysom Hill, then you go ahead and you do that. The New York Giants taking on the Washington Commanders. The Commies coming off the bye. The last time these two teams played, they both tied 7-5-1, holding identical records. Daniel Jones, Daniel Pennies again. See what happens? Daniel Jones, you don't play. I'm giving you the Pennies nickname again because you're killing everybody. You're hurting my guy Saquon as well. Mid-level risk for Daniel Jones. He always possesses rushing upside. He could get you a very safe floor of 17 points. I think it's going to transpire again in this contest on Sunday night. So hopefully we see it pan out. Because we lost Mike White, I'm got to fire up Daniel Jones in replace of a Lamar Jackson. That's just me. I'm taking the safety over the upside this week because we got to get those wins. I want to get to the next round of the playoffs. Saquon Barkley, low-level risk. Last couple weeks has not looked good, so, I mean, we got to think a breakout is coming. Hopefully it's going to be against these Commanders. They're fighting for their playoff lives. Both these teams, Saquon's going to be on his A-game, no question about that. Darius Slayton, Richie James, both get mid-level risk. James is dealing with a concussion, so watch that injury report. If James does play, he's got low-level PPR upside, but he will kill you if he does not get in that end zone, so it's likely 5 to 7 points for Richie James. Slayton, mid-level risk. He's just been too volatile for me to trust. You can find better options. Isaiah Hodgins, former Buffalo Bills. He is a red zone target at this point in the Dable offense. He knows how to use them because he was in Buffalo, so there is upside with a Hodgins if you're looking for, high upside touchdown plays at wide receiver. Hodgins is okay at this point. Excuse me, Daniel Bellinger, high-level risk. They haven't utilized him enough to be fantasy viable. The New York Jets taking on those Detroit Lions. Zach Wilson, the Cougar Killer, is back in the mix, and he is not a low-level risk for me. He's a high-level risk. I don't care. Zach Wilson did not look good. You're not playing him. You're hoping and rooting for the best that he's going to be able to show out in this contest. I just don't see it, man. It's just maybe the 1 or 2 weeks on the bench, did him some favors and he learned a couple things. This is the game. If Zach Wilson wanted to save his career in New York, this is the game to do it because the Jets defense is extremely gashable through the air. Zach, I'm rooting for you, man. I was a big supporter of you in the draft process, so hopefully we'll see what happens. Michael Carter, PPR upside, not starting him. Bam Knight. Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight, whatever you want to call him, low-level risk. He will get volume upside 100% in this offense versus a defense that struggles to stop the run as well. He should have a very good day, should find the end zone. Garrett Wilson, stud start of the week again. Even with a Zach Wilson, can I say that? No, I can't. Okay, low-level risk for a Garrett Wilson. Let's do it that way. It sucks, man. Mike White was the only one that was able to force feed him on the regular. So, Zach, you better take some pages out of Mike White's book and start force feeding Garrett Wilson. Otherwise, it could be a very bad day for all people that are counting on a Garrett Wilson. Elijah Moore, high-level risk. Because Zach Wilson is back, he doesn't even look in his direction. Corey Davis dealing with a concussion. He may not play. I wouldn't like to start either way. Ty Conklin does get a good mid-level for me. I think you can fire up Ty Conklin with good levels of confidence because I think he'll get at least some PPR work to save his fantasy day. The Philadelphia Eagles, fly, taking on those Chicago Bears, like I mentioned. Jalen Hurts, stud start. Miles Sanders, stud start. You can fire up these gentlemen with very high confidence because they just been balling. This offense, like I said, is just killer, and it's just crazy how good they play right now. A.J. Brown, stud start. He's going to tear up the Chicago Bears secondary. Devontae Smith, low-level risk. You can fire him up as well. Dallas Goedert, I'm giving him a high-level risk because they have not yet activated him from the IR, but they are saying he is very close to playing in this contest. So we shall see if Goddard does suit up in this game. I got to caution it, man. I'm still going to put the high-level risk. Coming off an injury, you never know, man. They got to work their legs back into the game. But, I mean, if you do have them, it's you could do a lot worse than Dallas Goedert coming off an injury at the tight end spot. So high-level to mid-level risk for Goedert, but you're firing up basically everybody else in this offense because they're just rolling and they're putting up points on the weekly. Kenny Pickett and these Pittsburgh Steelers. Pickett is on the wrong side of playing in this contest, meaning it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky playing the quarterback position versus Carolina Panthers, and I don't like it whatsoever. Downgrades everybody on this offense. Najee Harris, mid-level risk. He will have to be leaned upon with the Mitchie Biscuits, and we'll see. He's been doing decently well, scoring touchdowns, uplifting his fantasy day. Najee, I don't dislike the start this week, even though the Panthers defense is still pretty good. I do like Najee to control some of the game. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens with a Mitchie Biscuits. Both get mid-level risks. You might get a good shot down the field to George Pickens. It won't be consistent at all. Turnovers will come to play for Trubisky. Don't like it. Pat Freiermuth is a low-level risk if he does play. He's questionable with a foot. He's on the right side of playing from what I'm seeing right now. So Pat Freiermuth, you definitely can trust and fire him up this week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. I told y'all last week, do not start Tom Brady. This week, mid-level. I'll give him mid-level. They're going to have to play. They're fighting for their playoff lives as well, so you got to believe Tom Brady's going to try his best. It's at home versus a banged-up Bengals offense, so we'll see. I mean, it's going to be difficult. Hopefully, the Buccaneers find ways to move the ball because, I mean, all you Tampa Bay player owners, it's been killing your fantasy team. Uncle Lenny and Rachaad White, I'm giving Lenny a low-level risk. There's going to be a lot of room for him to gallop in this contest. Rachaad White might find the end zone this week once again. I would not be shocked. I don't hate the start for both running backs this week. Mike Evans, unfortunately, I got to still give you the mid-level. Don't like it. Don't like the play whatsoever. It's been awful. It's been difficult to trust. But again, you're in the playoffs. You got to start your studs. They can pop off at any time, and then you'll hate it sitting on your bench. Start Mike Evans. Start Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, low-level risk. He seems to be the safer choice right now out of the two if you have that choice. Tom Brady's finding Chris Godwin a lot more these days than he is finding Mike Evans. No Julio Jones. He is questionable with a knee, but he is likely on the wrong side of playing as well. K-Dot and high-level risk. I don't like it. There may be 5-6 points. That's basically all you're getting unless he finds the end zone. Too volatile for me. Tennessee Titans taking on these LA Chargers. Ryan Tannehill, low-level risk. Chargers defense does give up a lot of plays. They did look a lot better last week. I don't think it's sustainable. This defense does give up a lot of points. King Henry's a stud start. He's been fumbling the ball. What is up with y'all, King Henry? I think he's going to be angry. He's going to run all over this Chargers defense. Excuse me. He needs a good game, good bounce-back game. Tannehill, if King Henry does run the ball well, that play-action pass will be back, and Tannehill will give you a decent 15 points this week, if not more. Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, low-level floor again. Can't trust that he's likely on your waiver wire. Westbrook Akeem, mid-level risk, unless a Treylon Burks does come back in this contest. He is questionable, and on the right side of playing from what I'm hearing. So if Treylon Burks is playing, I don't hate the play and the start of a Treylon Burks with Ryan Tannehill and a Derrick Henry. We got the tight end, OKO. I can never pronounce his name. I won't butcher two men's names in the same show. So OKO, mid-level risk. If they continue to use him, I mean, he's got athletic ability for days. He is a mismatch. He can run. So we'll see if the Tennessee Titans actually do move the ball in the better directions than they have over the past several weeks. Going to be a very interesting game versus Titans and the Chargers. The Washington Commanders finishing it off with the Commies, taking on those New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. Tyler Heineke, they're coming off the bye week. Carson Wentz is on your heels, bud, and I mean, he's coming off the IR, so you better be performing. Otherwise, you could see the hook as well. Mid-level risk for Heineke. He got, I believe, 17 points the last time these two teams played before they went into the bye. So, I mean, it's a decent show for them as well. Antonio Gibson, mid-level risk. What can you say? I mean, he's questionable with a foot injury. I don't trust it as much as I trust Brian Robinson right now. I got Robinson as a low-level risk. Antonio Gibson has, he's 7 boom games this season, fell off a cliff. It's very difficult to trust. Heineke, I don't hate as a streaming quarterback this week. Trusting Brian Robinson over and Antonio Gibson at this point. I'm giving low-level risks to Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. They're doing very well. The mid-level is to a Jahan Dotson. I questioned if Heineke could support all 3 3 wide receivers, and he can, because we saw them boom before they went into the bye, all 3 of these men. So I think that Jahan Dotson does give you good upside. It's just fewer target share, where Terry and Curtis will see volume upside galore, giving them very good low-level risk plays. So we'll see. That's going to be another good one on Sunday Night Football. So there you have it. That is week number 15. Starts it lineup advice as we got 3 games on Saturday. Had to do this a day early, so hopefully get you guys ready for all the contests. If you want, point spread picks, I drop those usually on Saturdays. I will be dropping it today on Friday as well on Twitter, so definitely check that out for all you betting fanatics and junkies like me. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for me as we try to grow this channel that much more, and jump in those comments. Give me your start sit questions as we are in round 1 of the fantasy football playoffs. I will definitely answer you back and help you get those trophies and that money, winning money from all these leagues. But nevertheless, we'll see you next time. I am out.